Welcome to Amra's Armchair Anecdotes. I'm Amra Pajalich, writer, teacher and storyteller. Pull up a chair and let's dive into stories about writing, life and lessons learned, sharing wisdom from my armchair to yours. You can find the episode show notes, your free episode handouts and my how-to guides at amrapajalich.com/podcast. And now it's time to dive in. Welcome to Amra's Armchair Anecdotes. Today I've got Nina Nikolic. She's a Serbian-Australian actor based between Melbourne and Sydney. She's known for her playfully gritty presence and versatility. She brings grounded, imaginative characters and narration to life across video games, animation, film, audio, dramas, audiobooks, commercial and corporate work. Also, all things. So audiences may recognise her as Grandma in Fruit Bus, Percival in Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, and campaigns for Google and Weight Watchers.
Yes.
Ooh. A lifelong gamer and Twitch partner under the handle Kid Kerrigan, she thrives in live, collaborative environments with fellow creatives. Off mic, she's also a book lover and has a soft spot for cozy romances, medical dramas.
Oh my God, I love my medical dramas.
Grey's Anatomy, speculative fiction and dogs. And we have worked together where she has been my narrator on 3 projects. She's been Sabiha's Dilemma, Alma's Loyalty, and The Climb, which was a dual narrated young adult romance.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've kind of been working together for a while. We keep in touch. And then it was like, oh, we're due a catch up. And I was like,
Yes.
can you do a podcast too while you're here?
Yes, because I remembered it was like so long since we were in touch. And I remember that your next launch was coming up,
Yes.
but I couldn't make it. And I was like, we have to have coffee. Oh no, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate the launch. And then this came up. So I was like, yes.
Well, see, this is the thing now. I can have like catch-ups with people and have a conversation on camera.
Yes.
As a great memory and a learning tool. But, just to have some fun. And I think you're a really great person to talk, because I've been trying to talk to people about creative life, but also just talking to people who have interesting stories to tell. And, you are working full-time as a voiceover artist.
I'm trying to,
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. So you've got that perspective of the creative aspect in terms of the voiceover work and, the acting that you do in voiceover and also when you're narrating books and then games and stuff. But also the perspective of being a small business and having to do all of that stuff.
Change the hats, as people say, which is still like a skill that I think comes over time, which I've been learning a lot. Like I'll have one day where I'm complaining to my mom about, I hate marketing and I have to keep emailing people and I'm so annoying and they must hate me and why don't people call me back? And, they're probably just busy. I'll get them next time. And then I sit at my computer and I'm like, hello, I am a bad bitch and I would like to work with you. And I think it works really great. And I really think we should work together at some point. Anyway, love your stuff. Mwah. Like, and then you get off the computer, you're like, no one loves me. I'm never going to work again. This is awful.
It is. You really have to constantly put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And
I'll take it personally. And it's an interesting space to like be in the place where you have to be your own spokesperson. Otherwise, no one's going to know that you exist. Well, I saw, I don't know, one of those inspirational reels or something that was like, you can be as good actor as you want to be, but if no one sees it or if you don't tell anyone about it, no one's going to know.
Well, that's the thing. And it's like we're constantly paddling and kind of like, look at me. Look at me. But you have to because, and things do happen. We do get gigs from social media. We do get gigs from, people referring us or like my last gig at a library where I did a workshop came from meeting someone at a party. And it took like a year and then I emailed them afterwards. I was like, just following up. These are some workshops that I do. Crickets.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they're like, we met all that time ago. And I'm like, now.
Yeah, exactly. And and sometimes I think you forget how those things interact. Like I consider, I know that literally just before this chat, we were talking about how much I hate social media because it feels so effortful sometimes. And sometimes I have those moments of inspiration where I'm like, this would be a really fun reel to make. I'm going to do that. And then I never get a chance to actually finish it. I'll like record it and then something comes up that I have to work on and then it just gets chucked in the pile or whatever. But it just, the thing is, I consider it to be like, it's almost like a proof of life.
Yes.
Body of work.
Yes.
So when I am, in addition to my website, because your website can be there and just sit there and it has your stuff on it and you've got your SEO going and all those things. But the social media side of things, I consider really important. As much as I disgruntledly try to keep up with it, it is very important for me when I'm looking up people. I'm like, are they still active? What type of person are they? What type of stuff do they like? All of those things come through your social media stuff that you share. Like the things I share on Twitter are completely different to what I share on LinkedIn and Instagram and whatever. Sometimes they cross over a little bit, but when you consider all of those things together, I think that's the tipping point for a lot of people with me. Like they might find my narration reels, for example. I think narration is probably the biggest one where I think yourself and another author that I worked with recently, Ryan Birch, I think both of you found my reels on the Aussie Narrators website.
I found you on a website where I was like looking all the different narrators in Australia, but then I couldn't backtrack and tell you which one because I'd gone into this dark hole where I'd spend like days.
500 tabs open.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always.
But that website does have my reels on it, and it's obviously a place where lots of people go SEO wise, Aussie Narrators, right?
Yes.
So you're going to go there as the first port of call. But then it also has like my blurb, my social media. So you listen to the words and you're like, okay, yeah, I kind of like these. How do I get in touch with this person? What else is there about this person? You go to the website, you see a little bit more about me, but then you hit up the social media and you're like, oh, I actually want to talk to this person. Mm. And that's, I think, where a lot of stuff culminates for me, is that tiny little extra connection that's like, oh, I actually can talk to this person.
Yeah.
And I'll either get like a DM or an email that's like, oh, hey, I saw, I just want you to do this walk or whatever. And I'm like, oh, cool. How'd you find me?
Yes. And I'm learning that too. I'm learning to ask people, how did you find me? Because then I'm like, oh, that thing worked.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the thing. I struggled with social media in the beginning because honestly, it feels like you're walking out naked for like a part of it until you sort of get a style. And so I had to force myself. I actually made a goal where I was going to post every day just to build up my
reps.
Yes. Yeah. Just to be like, okay, just release. And, you know, I guess it's easier for me also because I figured out I can do things where I can do book reels and things where I'm not on camera, I'm creating social media assets. But for you, it's a little bit different because it's all about what you can create and, you know, like your voice. And so it's a lot more onerous.
Yeah. And a lot of the time I can't access. So there's this thing where some people say, you can't just be posting all of your work all the time. Like no one wants you to gloat and no one wants all
I want you to gloat.
But the thing is,
you're fabulous.
If you don't post the stuff that you've worked on, A, how are people going to know what you've worked on? And B, how are people going to know what it sounds like and what you can bring? How are people going to actually see your performance in various things if they haven't played that game or they haven't done this or whatever? So you have to show you have to build how prolific you are in that way while also showing all of the behind the scenes stuff, what I do all the time, your personality stuff, all those things. But a lot of the work that I do also either doesn't come out for like 5 years, doesn't come out at all because it's internal, or is impossible to track down and impossible to get people to send you the material once it's out there. So that is a process in itself where like once a quarter you sit down and you're like, all right, which of these projects have come out? These have all been like, these are all the ones that I track all my stuff. And so I have all of my projects that are in progress, the ones that need a quote, the ones that have been paid, the ones that are pending payment. I have my once a month money day, which is half
the
complete.
the chasing of the money.
Which I have I nearly had one unpaid invoice. I have never had an unpaid invoice.
You've managed to
touch wood,
by crook, get it over the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last one was big thanks to my agent. She's tenacious. So that was one of those ones. And bless her. That's Sarah McLeod at Big Mouth Voices, by the way. Love you, Sarah. Thank you so much. You're the best. But largely, I think it's because I want to follow up on that stuff. Like a lot of feedback that I get actually from clients is how quickly I action things.
You do.
Unless I'm really dying.
No. Well, you for example,
which was a thing this winter.
Yeah, during one of my books. But like you were just so great at communicating.
Yeah, you have
and keeping in touch. And then what I loved also, and it was that social media, you were like providing outtakes and stuff, and
yeah,
posting those. Yeah. They were so funny. And like just that behind the scenes, because I also narrated my memoir. And so I have just a tiny taste about how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because I was in the studio 4 days a week or 5 days for 6 hours.
For how long? Just for the 1 week or
for the week?
Yeah.
Right. And it was a 70,000 word book. And it was so, because and you know about this, where you're switching between words. So then I had words in Bosnian that I would say, and then I had to go back to English, and my tongue would do really weird things.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretentious. I use all these words in my writing. I don't know how to pronounce.
I know how to write them.
I know how to write them, but that's because of, autocorrect.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, and so the producer would have to like find, the pronunciation, then we'd have to practice. And then she'd be like, yeah, you didn't quite nail it. Let's do it again.
I have to do that myself all the time as well. Like, I'm currently reading The Real Fight, the Kim Dalton memoir. And that's, all related to cancer and her treatment and all of the medicines that were involved.
Oh my gosh,
all
that's
of
crazy.
The organs and the doctors' names and all these things. And so her partner at the time is the one who's doing this book now, re-releasing it for I think it was 20 years since she passed. So it's like an anniversary release kind of thing together with the audio version.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to message Robert one day in the booth, and I was like, hey, Robert, I have a list of words for you. And I was like rattling off all these words. I'm like, can you just let me know if these are correct? Thank you. And so I have like 10 voice memos from Robert in my phone.
Yes.
Of just like telling me Taekwondo terminology, what he remembers the names of the medications are and how closely they work. Because some stuff, you do as much research as you can, obviously, to prepare. But one thing that I've learned is there's different ways to pronounce things too. So there might be a way that I pronounce a word that a client just prefers it pronounced a different way, which is totally fine, but it's something that I then need to wrap my head around every time, or even sometimes I'll interchange pronunciations.
Yes, where you're doing one.
Anaesthetist.
Like I had that. Yeah. Oh,
versus anaesthetist.
I can't even say it.
I caught myself in the middle of this book. I said anaesthetist twice. I had to look it up to double check the British pronunciation just in case, because I was like anaesthetist, anaesthetist, and it was a whole thing. And then I caught myself the next time, because it also depends on the context of the word and what words are surrounding it. And so I naturally said anaesthetist the next time. And then I was like, no, we have to keep this consistent. I'm going to go back and redo that. So yeah, it is like all of those things, as well as the style of the writer can be completely different. I think in 2 of the more recent books, there's a style of writing that that kind of swaps conjunctions. So instead of like, it had or something like that, I would just say it had. And so then I'll have to catch that and be like, oh, it had this thing. Like even small stuff like that is going to be picked up as being not accurate.
Yes.
So, and can completely change the flow of a sentence, the author's voice, that kind of thing. So that kind of stuff I definitely try to fix. Sometimes if it's like an obvious typo, I'll fix that and then double check.
And that's the brilliant thing. Like when I was doing my memoir, picking up all the typos, and one of the things I loved about having my books narrated is all the little tiny things, because there's things that you pick up, there's things that are picked up by me, by my proofreader, by all the software that I use, and then there's the stuff that until you read it out loud,
it's just a tiny thing.
Yes,
but you're like, oh yeah, it is missing like just an A or something.
Yeah.
Like there was just something in there.
And
that
most
dropped.
people don't even notice maybe when they're reading, and only there's some eagle right. But it is the best way. But I can't read it myself because it's too much.
And it's like, and stuff like that isn't usually a big deal or anything. But in terms of the narrator, honoring the original text, that's the kind of thing that becomes a conversation of like, is this a typo? Because what the most common one that I find is it looks like the author has written a passage one way and then they're like, oh no, actually I kind of want to change the tense of this and restructured it and changed one word and missed another one, which like I know when I'm reviewing my writing, I do that all the time. So it'll be something like that where it's like, did you want it in this tense or this tense? Because there's kind of both in there or whatever. So yeah, just stuff like that I try to catch and use software and stuff for that as well. And then also like manually go through when I'm editing. So I'll do like a first proofing pass with a software, go through, do all the pickups, and then do another listen, actually just sitting with my headphones on with my laptop and I'm listening. I'm like, no, that gap was too long. I'm going to edit that. All right. No, that sounded like shit. I'm going to fix that.
It is because there's a whole process. So when I was getting you to narrate my books, I had to try and go through all the words, and that's why I was looking for someone who shared the same language group as me, because I have a lot of Bosnian words that are the same as Serbian words,
which is still hard for me to pronounce, but I try my best.
Yeah, but at least you can sort of break your tongue, because it is about that ability to sort of get the right sounds. Like even with my daughter, I was practicing with her the other day. She doesn't really know how to speak the language, but because she's been around it enough, she can pronounce properly when we're practicing.
Yeah.
Because it's a very harsh language, and our consonants are really harsh. And I know that when I talk to my husband in front of my daughter, she's like, "What are you arguing with?"
Why are you yelling?
This is a conversation, darling. This is what we sound like. And so, it's just that sort of thing. So, like ideally if you're wanting, you're working with a client. So it's, getting, when I sent you the file, well, actually you go through the process of what you want if you're working with someone who is doing a book.
So for me, I feel like I'm a lot more flexible than some people that I've seen. I mean, like, I know that people do have their structure because I feel like any kind of structural rules come out of necessity, right? You have one too many people who like are a bit too much and you have to have those boundaries. But generally speaking, the people that I work with have been super cool and really, really nice. And so my process is usually pretty loose, pretty open, pretty collaborative. I'll make sure that I send, like, there'll be like a shorter original sample, kind of like an audition. Anytime someone approaches me for anything, I still basically audition for them. I don't call it that, but for me, that's what it is, because I want to make sure, even if they think that they want to work with me, I want to make sure that they're still happy with my voice and my performance in their context. Because they've heard my demos and like, oh yeah, I really like your stuff, blah, blah, would love to work with you. And I'm like, that's great. But also, I don't know how many other people you're approaching. I don't know if my budget is going to, if my rates are going to fit your budget, how, if we're going to work together, your workflow might be completely different to mine. I try to, accommodate as much as I can. But the first step is always going to be that initial audition, because even just from that, I encourage lots of feedback so that in that sample stage, you can really iron out things like pacing, tone, like in the real fight recently, Robert was super happy with all the samples. He was like, you go ahead, love everything, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. But he wanted to, give her parents some respect of listening to the recordings as well and getting their thoughts and things. And I'm totally open to that, obviously. Like, he's the rights holder, but we also want to make sure that her family is comfortable with how everything is, portrayed. And so her mother had some feedback on, like, she's a teacher as well. And so she had some feedback on, like, the cadence of the narration, slowing down the pace a little bit, things like that, which is all totally valid feedback. And it might feel a bit weird for me to kind of like, okay, but that was my take on it. Like, that's not helpful. So I'm like, great, good. Now I know I have a benchmark for how they're happy for it to sound, which means I can take that, reference it whenever I'm feeling a bit weird. Like, we all have our days where sometimes we feel better than others. That can come through in our performance as well. So I have like a benchmark to go back to of like, this is the version they were happy with. I can kind of move forward with that. And then, with the pronunciations and stuff, I try to get as much of those out of the way before the process starts, like character voices, things like that, as possible. Inevitably, there's going to be pickups or, stuff like that. With my fiction stuff, like, I don't think it's common practice for authors to get like a final approval of the audiobook, but I do.
No, if the publisher holds the rights.
Yeah, they'll just be like, this is what you get.
Yeah.
You've approved the first 15 minutes, and then the rest of it, that's what you get. I'm a lot more collaborative in that way, where I will encourage, if people want to, that they give it a final listen, make sure you're happy. And honestly, every single person who has gone through that process has been so completely reasonable. I could have communicated better on with Ryan Birch on the last one, because she was highlighting all these big gaps, and I'm like, it hasn't been edited yet. I'm so sorry. You didn't need to know all the gaps. But things like, oh, I actually intended for this particular line was actually like this kind of circumstance. And I'm like, oh yeah, totally get it. I'll just do that as a pickup as well, because I'm already working through my other pickups too. So I bundle in those notes together. I'll like hold on doing all of my revisions and pickups for accuracy stuff, because there might be something that needs to be fixed that they also had feedback on anyway.
Yeah,
and so that would kind of go into the same.
Who might not have listened to audiobooks might not realize how much it is a performance. Because like the first time I listened to Sadiq's Dilemma and you narrating it, I was crying. I was
crying. Wasn't I crying?
You were crying at certain points too, because we were both like, oh my God, that scene.
I don't know if there's been a book that I have not actually cried in the booth, and I think some of those takes ended up in the final.
Yeah, but that works, because that's what I did with my memoir. There were certain scenes where I was reading it out and I started crying, and I'm like, oh, I had that emotion. But for me, I was crying like because, certain scenes, but I was just crying from the joy of, like it's a medium where it is a performance. And so I'm one of those people that, I close my eyes and I see pictures in my head. And so for me, I love audiobooks because they are bringing the pictures to life for me. And I love audiobooks also because, so many times you get the names wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Even recently, my daughter and I, she read Beloved, and then we were watching the movie. And she was like, oh, that's Septe. She was like, I was reading that as Seeth.
Yeah, Seeth,
Yeah. And so it's like all the names that you don't realize. Like even recently, my friend, Blood Moon Bride, Demet, who I interviewed, and she's like Raya, and I'm like Raya. So it's like all that side of it, but then it's also the performances within where, as you said, characters have voices and you develop like a personality, and then when they're speaking, and as a writer, you're trying to remove as many speech tags as you can, because it shouldn't be every line he said, she said, he said, she said. There should be.
And sometimes and then as the narrator, sometimes you're trying to work out who actually said what.
Yes.
Because it would make sense knowing, like, when you hear the character voice, but then also you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, lost track.
Yeah,
whose turn is it
I lost
now?
track. I need to highlight everything. Yeah, totally. And I think in terms of the voices too, like as a voice actor, you try to stretch, your cadence, your voice, your pronunciations, all of those things to have a diverse enough range to kind of differentiate things. But most of the time, how people keep talking about voice acting is acting, darling. A lot of that just comes down to what is each character's demeanor, because that will like inherently change the way that they speak and how they sound. And like if there's any notes on their physicality or how they look, how they behave, those kinds of things will always inform what the voice kind of sounds like, because you just kind of become that character is like a really zhuzhy way to say it. But
that's the thing. When I'm writing it, I'm imagining that character. And when you are performing it, you are bringing that to life. So it's the same thing in terms of the creative side.
Yeah.
But there is so much to it. And I think these days, like, there is the AI narration, because some people don't care about the voice, and some people speed up and stuff like that. So they're like, the AI is fine. But for a lot of us, for me, I love the performance side.
Yeah, if you actually want to connect to it.
Yeah.
As well. And the thing is, so like on the AI stuff, right? Like I love that for accessibility. I spoke to you about that. Like the thing is, especially if the problem isn't so much that it exists as a tool, it's how people use that tool in ways that don't actually benefit humanity.
Yeah.
Like there's a benefit of like for people who can't do a narrator just yet for an official audiobook, would love to do it in future, but there are people who physically cannot read their book right now. Brilliant. Like it's wonderful that exists for them. And I think a lot of people kind of disregard that about it being available.
Yes.
And then obviously the other problem is where those AI voices have come from, how they were developed. Are they developed ethically, which a lot of the time to keep things that cheap, they haven't been, which is a whole other discussion that could take 4,000 million years. But at the end of the day, like, I think the general consensus that I've seen is that only humans can connect with humans on that level.
Yes.
And so that's like, it kind of depends what you want. If you want like a team move book, or you want.
It depends where you are and what
exactly and what the purpose is.
Yeah,
what the intention is.
When I'm listening to an audiobook, I want that human narration, and for me, the voice is very important. I've stopped audiobooks if the voices. There's only one that I pursued because I really liked the story.
Yeah.
And the voice was just like. But I was like, oh my God.
I've had that too, but then I became accustomed to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now I'm kind of sad this is over. Like,
yeah, because there's a point where you're like, oh, now it's fine.
Yeah, which was quite interesting. Yeah. Like it definitely took me a while to like get accustomed to it. And that's the thing too, is like not every voice or every style is going to be for everybody.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. And also with characters, again, getting it's also interesting to see because, like, as the narrator, you want to make sure every single character has their like distinct voice or whatever. But the thing is, a lot of the time I've realized the author, there are some characters that aren't necessarily that important, which I don't know.
Yeah. Until you get to
until I hear from the author, like, because I don't know if there's going to be more books in the series. I don't know which characters are going to become more prominent, stuff like that. So when I was working with Ryan, she sent me, I asked her for samples of like, how do you picture these people sounding? And she actually found clips on YouTube of like various people that was like, I kind of imagine them sounding like in this realm. So there's more there. I can't remember. There was a sportswoman who I can't quite remember what her name was, but it was a more of that kind of, grounded tomboy kind of energy. Like, when you see any like Socceroo from the women's team on the news talking about it, it's basically like that vibe, right? And I'm like, got it. I know those people, like, understood. And then there's, an influencer who's like an influencer from Queensland or something that has a very particular way of speaking. She's like, I picture this person speaking like that.
Yeah.
But I knew from the amount of samples that she sent me and who she sent me the samples for, that those were the ones that were the most important to focus on. And so therefore, if she didn't send me samples for other characters, they're probably not that much of a priority, and I can either take liberties with them if I feel like it, or like there's just a little bit more wiggle room there for how much emphasis to put on how distinct you make each of them and how much each of those characters are going to be in a scene together. And then like that was the first round of feedback was like, oh, the two protagonists feel like they're too similar because it was a lesbian romance.
Oh,
so
you need the two.
So they really did need to like differentiate a bit more because they're going to be in most of the book just talking to each other in dialogue. So it's like, okay, cool. I'll have to like just mold this stuff, pull out aspects of things differently for each one. And then, do another sample. Great. Move on. So, it's a fun process.
And also, we were talking about AI earlier. We had a bit of a kerfuffle, you and I, during the AI Find Away Voices thing.
Oh, yeah, everyone had a kerfuffle.
Yeah, where I was using, and I'm still using them, although they've changed names now. It's probably because of this.
Yeah.
But they were called Find Away Voices, and I was using them as the distributor for my audiobooks. And then they updated their contracts.
Their terms of service.
That they owned the rights to your voice, even though I was only
and they were just selling them to Spotify.
Yeah.
And now Spotify has a marketplace to create ads on Spotify for you. And I wonder where they get all of those voices from for that service.
Yeah, so there's always that's the
and then they kind of backpedaled and were like, oh, but no, but that's not what we mean. And it's like, yeah, but we also can see, like, the thing is you can say that, but from what we're seeing, the fact that you tried to do this and now you have this magical service that has come up for people to create ads for their business magically out of the blue with your AI.
Where did you get those voices from?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, ChatGPT, it sourced all these books that are, copyright. And it's a great tool, but at the end of the day, it got the stuff, from elsewhere, and that needs to be addressed. Because if, I want to give the license for my books to be used in AI, I need to be compensated. If you are going to provide your voice where they're going to be cloning it and using it, you need to be compensated for that.
I've now had to start putting, so in the back matter of the audiobooks, I got the blessing of the authors to do this and the rights holders to do this. But you know how there's like the copyright back matter stuff. Thank you for listening. This is the end of this book written by so-and-so, narrated by Nina Nikolic. The text version of this book was published in blah, 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 copyright held by this person. No portion of this book may be used to reproduce blah, blah, blah. And I've also been adding no portion of this recording may be used to reproduce the narrator's voice without express written authorization from Nina Nikolic. as well. So they have their, like, you can't use our material. And there is also, you cannot use my voice print.
Yes.
From this recording.
Because now there are services.
Which I have not seen anyone else do that. I don't know if anyone else does that, but I felt that it was necessary to at least include it if I'm already doing that for the content itself, just as a fail-safe, I guess. Like,
well, may as well, because we know that has been happening. There have been attempts to do that. Even there was a kerfuffle in the publishing world where when AI licensing was available, publishers were trying to get authors to sign deals so they would get 50% of the AI licensing rights. And so it's like and now they're probably trying to add that to the boilerplate contract. And the problem is when you're new, you sign anything and you give away everything.
Well, especially when it becomes standard.
Yes.
In a lot of contracts, it has just become standard to put that stuff in there. And it makes you think as an artist and whatever, when every single contract you get has that verbiage in it, you're like, wait, can I contest this? Like, is this something that I can push back on when I negotiate? And it's like, yes, it is. You should. But the circumstances of every deal that we do, particularly with big publishers, big companies, all of these things, makes you feel like you don't have that leverage and you're not able to do that. And a lot of actors lost jobs during the strikes and things for that reason. They were like, I don't consent to doing this, screening process or whatever. And they're like, great, don't come in tomorrow. Yeah, we'll find someone else. And so to that degree, it's kind of like, well, shit, how do you then, as a little artist trying to make your way in the world, gain enough leverage to be in Zendaya's shoes, who famously says, make sure you read every single one of your contracts. Sit there with a highlighter, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, ask questions, push back, do all the, she's like talked about that numerous times. And I think that's one of the things that made me feel more empowered to, so thank you, Zendaya. I appreciate it. I don't know if she'll ever listen to this or know anything to do with it.
We'll dream, darling. We'll dream.
But the fact that people in her position can come out and say those things, and she's so supremely successful and doing so well for herself, knock on wood, we ever get to be in that position to have that much leverage to be able to say, no, I won't do this. We need to fix this. I won't agree to it. We'll have to either add this, negotiate on that, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is that's business.
Yes.
That's part of like the hut we were talking about.
Yes.
Of like, you can't as the artist sit there and feel like, oh yeah, but if I don't agree, I'm not going to get this job or whatever. And it's like, well, if you do agree, you might not get another job anyway because you've done this for $250 and it says perpetuity forever in the known universe and all current and forever universes in the multiverse.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's that
existing or not.
But that's the thing. There is that desperation, like, and my last publishing contract, I had a friend read it and go through it and give me suggestions for asking for revisions. Didn't go well. And
of course
it was like, take it or leave it. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. That's fine because that contract has a time frame.
Yes.
So they have got my licensing rights for a
period of time. Yeah.
And so that's the difference now. But part of the reason that I am now very much wanting to just own all of my intellectual property, and I'm not submitting anywhere, I'm not looking at any submission processes, is because of that. Because the templates that they offer you, and what they offer you, they want to take everything and they want to close the door on you being able to do anything. They want to take your world rights, any digital rights, anything that's coming in the future, anything that might be.
It's like back in the old New Hollywood days when they were like, you're doing a 10-picture deal, darling. This is Hollywood, baby. And you're like, oh, my God, I hate it. Like you do picture 1, you do picture 2, and then they're shipping you around and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, it really is. And, you know, the fact that technology is just constantly moving and evolving, and that when you own your intellectual property, that means you can exploit it in all these different new ways yourself. But as soon as someone else, you're licensing your rights and you're signing a contract where they have a lot more access, you're closing doors to yourself. And so even this book that I was working on, I think I submitted it to a few prizes. And then even though I submitted it to prizes, I was like, I don't think I want this prize, because I'm like, if they take it, it's the first book in the series. And then, and this happens to a lot of authors, which is like the worst thing, where they start publishing the series and then they're like, no, we don't think this is working for us. And then they stop publishing the series, but they've still got the rights to the first few books.
Continue.
No. And then if you do continue, it's working to your disadvantage, because if the first whatever books they've got are selling because of you're doing the promotion, you'll never get the rights back to it. So it's like this double money.
Most insane like loophole. I actually have heard similar stuff like that. Or even like, for example, I think it was like during the writer's strike or something, there were some guys who were still working on writing a film script. I can't remember which film it was. It's like on the peripheral somewhere. But it just seems so absurd. Like, if you're not sitting in a writer's room, I don't know what the circumstances were, so don't quote me on this internet. But it's almost like just because actors were on strike, it doesn't mean that they weren't acting in general. They just weren't actively working on productions that were being struck. And with writing, the discourse around it almost felt like people were reprimanding these guys for writing at all, when it was that their hands were tied for writing on a particular project or something. I think they were probably writing on that project. That's why that discourse kind of happened. But it felt like people were saying, like, you must put the pen down and you must not pick it. And it's like, but then how do you maintain your craft throughout that period? It's like being on hiatus for, a year, or God knows how long it's going to take for them to get out of stuff. And then you have to like jump back on the horse and be like, okay, God, how do I, it's been a while. I've got to work these muscles again, And
also for some of us, you're probably in the same boat. It doesn't stop. Our creativity doesn't stop. It's actually like we need that outlet to live.
And you have to use it when it comes.
Yes. Like you need to release. Yeah. Because otherwise you start ruining your creative process. Because now, the past few years, I have been freer than I have ever had. Thank you, perimenopause. There's been a lot of terrible things that you did to me, a lot of terrible things that you did, but the one thing that you have given me is this ability to just not care, to just do things and release them, and just whatever happens, happens.
I feel like that's where the best work comes from.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I do feel like, in general, the auditions that have been the most successful, that there's a thing in like the voice actor world specifically of like the set and forget mentality of the ones that you just kind of throw away are like the ones that always work out. Like you'll be sick as a dog and this audition comes in and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do what I can, and I'm going to send it. And then you get the role and you're like, how did you think that is what, and it's because you didn't overwork it. You didn't painstakingly labor over every detail. Like there's a difference between like painstakingly laboring over the intricacies of getting the little details in the clay kind of thing, but in terms of slapping the clay on the like that, I think that there's like a fundamental difference there of like over concerning yourself with how it's going to be received.
Yes.
Versus just like throwing paint at the wall and just being in the moment and doing that stuff. Like
the sweetest gigs that have been for me, where I just get this inspiration for an article. I sit down, bang it out in 30 minutes.
That's where how my blogs come from.
Leave it for a day, do a bit of a proofread.
Yes.
Write up a pitch and just email it.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, I'm like, they get an acceptance. I'm like, oh, I'm a genius.
Yeah.
But there is something about just following that thread of inspiration.
Yes.
And, just things, releasing things and just see what comes back. And then also I've gotten to this point now where I've always got something out on a submission. I'm sure you're the same. We've always got something out there. And then recently I had a journal go, we've accepted it for publication. I couldn't remember what it was.
Yes, that's what I said.
I was like, I just have to wait.
That's why I log everything.
Yeah.
Like everything I submit, I log it. And even then sometimes I can't find what I'm doing. And it's so funny having this discussion because I was about to say like it's so different when you're like, you set up a goal and you're like, okay, I'm going to write 1 blog post per month. And then it doesn't come and you're like, oh, shit. But then there's, and this is credit to Amy Smith, who's like one of my voice acting like coaches, who's like super prolific in games. You should check her out. She's awesome. But she was also a primary school teacher and was very adamant on goal setting and having your SMART goals and doing all that stuff, which is actually a structure that you need to surround your inspiration, I feel like. Because if you just have inspiration and throw it out there and whatever, it's like, cool, you're doing something, but also you kind of lose track of what it is you're building. Yeah. I feel like my goals feed into this weird, like, manifestation process.
I was just talking to someone about that.
Really?
Yeah, because I wrote my goals for the first time this year and actually printed them out.
Yeah.
Because my daughter does it. She's been doing it for
like a mood board. Yeah.
And so we just sat down and we were doing it together and then
I was considering maybe doing that for next year.
And then I was looking at it recently and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually nearly on track with achieving all of them. There's one of them I'm like, I don't care. I had this goal that I was going to weigh myself every month, but that is never, ever.
Oh, yeah. You do it with the best intentions.
Yes.
But then you're like, oh, actually, my weight doesn't actually matter. It's how I feel.
Yes.
Or whatever.
And the other thing is I've realized you can't control, like, I will have this many articles published.
Yes.
I will have this many books published.
Yeah,
I can control how many articles I will pitch.
Yes.
I can control, my output and what I will try. Mm-hmm. I can't control what will be picked up.
Yeah.
And so I've learned, like, to make it about that. It's like, to submit to do these things. So even like that one about the weight, it's not about the weight. What it is about is the exercising.
Yes.
And so I have been maintaining that. I have been maintaining that almost daily, exercising and building stamina and stuff. And so it's not about the weight because the weight, as a woman, we're constantly fluctuating.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I get sick and I know that, I've put on weight.
It's over for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm like, I do not want to see that number. I can see it in the mirror. Thank you very much. I don't need that depression.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to someone recently and I said, I almost feel like, oh my God, you're having so many things happening, so much is going on. But, I'm always working at it. And I said that there comes a point where it's almost like I've been running like that mouse on the middle of churning and churning. And now it's become cream. But it's, all of the work underneath. And also at this point, it's almost like it's not me. There's like this almost like something's taking over me.
Some otherworldly thing is happening and things are just coming and you're like, huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Like I had to take a bit of a backseat recently and be like I felt awful because I was like, I haven't been doing any marketing. I haven't been doing my cold contacts. Amy's gonna write me a new one. She always tells me I have to do my marketing. But I was so busy. I had so much work to do. I had all those books to catch up on from when I was sick. I had all this stuff that I needed to do. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to let go, get the stuff done that I have to get done. But there's definitely this thing that has been happening. I actually have something really funny that I was actually considering writing a blog post about, which was in this manifestation goal setting vein. In my coaching session with Amy, she was like, you have to start submitting to rosters and agents and get on those audiobook rosters. Like the ultimate for us is like, we want Blackstone Publishing to come to us and ask us to audition. We want Penguin Random House to hire us for books and all these things and be on their roster, right? So you have to go through that process the same way as your submissions. You're like, hello, I'm a narrator. Here's my work. Here's stuff about me. Like, here's why I would love to be on your roster. This is what makes me different. And you sit there and you're submitting and submitting and submitting. And to this day, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 rosters that I've been on. One of them, I finally got a book with, which was Thrive Audio. So that book is currently in progress to come out, which I was like so grateful. Sarah is like the best. She runs Thrive Audio. And every time I've auditioned, she's like, you were my top pick. But the author ultimately went in another direction, which happens. That's fine. But she was so in my corner all the time. And I think she's been one of the really like hands-on producers that I just adore working with her, truly. I was working with Amy on like, you know, my goals and stuff. And she's like, you should be applying to all of these audiobook rosters and things. And the thing is that I'll come back to the marketing thing in a second, but all of these rosters like still won't take me. And you don't know what the reason is. You don't know if it's that they think they have people who already sound like me. If I'm not experienced enough, maybe I haven't released enough books for them to be interested in me. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. But the main thing is not yet. Fine, no worries. However, in the process of doing that stuff, it gets me to update my samples. It has me updating my website, updating all of my other profiles, practicing reaching out to people and pitching myself, having ideas to post blogs and social media and building that snowball piece by piece to move forward, which ultimately ended up manifesting you reaching out to me to do your books, Ryan Birch reaching out to me to do her books, Robert finding me to do his books. So while all of these publishers are not allowing me to audition for their stuff, I don't get a lot of auditions, but I do get people coming directly to my inbox to hire me for the rate that I have set, which is, mind you, a lot more than the MEAA equity rates that they have agreed on, which are incredibly low, the lowest in the world, barely livable if you actually calculate it by the hour. It is not minimum wage even, which is why my rate is what it is, because I have done the meticulous calculations and found that it is like a somewhat livable, at least minimum wage for that work, which sounds like a lot when you're pitching it. But when you break it down into like what everything involves, I'm like, I know what my value is and I know that that's what it is. So thank you.
Yeah. But also that one recorded hour of video, that is hours behind.
Oh, yeah. It could be anywhere between like 5 and 10 or 12, like depending on how much you're nitpicking at it, how many revisions you need to do, you know, revising the editing, whatever it is. If you're paying someone else to edit it, like that can add to the cost too. So yeah, all of those things. But then with the marketing side of it, I've started realizing, I had this discussion with my mum the other day when I said that I was going through that thing of like, I hate this marketing thing. I just want to talk to people. Like, I hate that, because the thing is that there are a lot of creatives who aren't on social media that you can't actually reach. So the only way to reach them is to send them that shitty email that's just like, hey guy, you might not know who I am, but I love your work. It's really cool. I'd love to work with you sometime. Anyway, so Thank you, bye.
And that is so hard, that putting yourself
So
out there.
hard.
Like I've had a lot of practice now.
Yeah.
And I am better at it, but I still kind of need to set up these steps for myself where it's like I have to do this thing first. So for example,
To make it feel not shitty.
yes. So for this podcast that I want to do, a history podcast, I'm like, well, at some point I'm going to need to approach people that I want to work on it with me, but I needed to do this podcast and get the practice and get the comfort zone to be able to even conceive the thought of approaching these people. Because I'm like, these are historians or authors, survivors. And it's like this whole thing of I need to be able to be like, I have got runners on the board, that I am a credible person to be able to say, I can do this.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's that psychological aspect. And then it's also just doing the bloody thing.
Yeah.
And even in the shop.
And you hear all the time, like, celebrities in interviews being like, they're like, how did you come across this role? And they're like Robert Pattinson, he'll just be like, I love these directors. And I emailed them and was like, I love your shit, man. And then they said they had a thing for me. Like, and the thing is, it might have to be a two-way thing. They might have to be a fan of Robert Pattinson too, know that he's an incredible actor, be a fan of his, know that he has the reach that he has or the familiarity with audiences that he has, whatever it is. But you can still find those people at your level, so to speak. But I realized I was incredibly scared of talking to people in person, taking their time, like doing all that kind of stuff. But I love it so much more. And I started learning that. Like I used to be a phone scared person, like not liking talking to people on the phone. And now I'm like, I actually like this so much better because we can get more things out in the open and exchange more ideas and get a better sense of each other. And if ultimately we don't quite connect, that's great. I think it was still time well spent. But then I find more quickly who the people that I really do want to gravitate to and work with and all that kind of stuff. And I was telling Mum how I was like, I do all this LinkedIn stuff, but I don't think it works for me. And I don't think anything has come from it. And ultimately, you are trying to get work. You're trying to collaborate to people. You're trying to pay bills and all these things. But I want to do that with people I enjoy doing it with. And I think that made the difference for me, was instead of just kind of shilling out these emails of like, hello, I do this, here's my demo. Hello, I do this, here's my demo. Hello, I do this, here's my demo. I don't just want to do that because ultimately my demo is going to have to suit something that they have going on, which is a separate conversation. So while I do still have to do that, that's just part of the business and I kind of have to be okay with doing that part. It's kind of like what was it, Scorsese or someone who was like one for them, one for me?
Yes.
That's kind of my approach to marketing now.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like the one for them is like the one I have to do.
Yeah.
The one for me is like, I love this person's work. They're an incredible creative mind. I would kill to touch what the aura that they have or whatever it is, and just meet them, chat, whatever. If something comes up, awesome. But I feel so much better when I have a rapport with someone that I genuinely like their work, and I like surrounding myself with people that by osmosis I just feel nourished by.
Yes, and that's the thing. You want to spend time with people who really do inspire and uplift you.
Yeah.
Because that's also what it's about, this creative life, is the creating, but it's also just feeding yourself, feeding your soul in a sense. So you've got that joy and those moments.
And sometimes it's not even so much just like getting along with people. Like I can still make incredible work with people that we might not on a personal level like vibe or hang out or whatever. Like we won't like go to coffee and just talk for 3 hours or whatever, but we can go to coffee, exchange really cool ideas, get in the booth together, make something really cool. Like not every person that you work with, even creatively, has to be your person, but it does help to have people that are your people that also you can make incredible art with to like supplement and feed the other relationships that you have too.
Yeah, because it's that whole ecosystem.
Yeah, which is like the whole manifesting thing to me. Like I was like, this manifesting thing feels really like woo-woo and whatever, but there is actually a structure to it that results in this thing called manifestation.
And I think since I've started doing posts every year, doing reflective posts and looking at what I have achieved, that's really helped because, it's about what have I achieved? It's what have I done in the year? Just making every year sort of count, that I am scratching, that I am trying.
I need to get better at doing. That's one thing I need to get better at doing, is like my review stuff, because my weekly review has just basically become a 6-hour block where I can finally tick off shit that I haven't had time. That now in the review I've seen that I haven't done all these things.
Yes.
So I'm not looking at what I have done. I'm looking at what I haven't done yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that. And I start doing it. And then 6 hours later, I'm like, I haven't reviewed anything. I've just kept working.
Yeah.
But I finally get it done.
Yeah. I started doing like a weekly writing update.
Oh, cool.
And I've stopped that a little bit because I've been just unwell and things. But I'm like, I really liked that, just the weekly thing for myself. But then, at the end of the year, and the one thing that I've found that has been the best thing I've ever done is the news and events page on my website. And so that all of the news is just in the one place. So when I'm doing a review at the end of the year, I'm just like, it's all there.
You can see what.
Yeah, it's all there. All the things that I've done that are like my news, and then events that I've done.
Like your accomplishments are basically chronicled for you.
It's all chronicled for me. And then like I do a blog post and I hyperlink it. And so then at the end of the year, I'm just like, I could just pull it out and I can go, well, that has been good. And so that's every year I've been like, okay, moving. Well, I mean, this has been such a great conversation.
Yes!
Oh, my gosh.
I could go on forever.
We are going to go on, but without the camera now.
Yeah.
We're going to have lunch and we're going to have Danishes. Yeah. But thank you so much. We were going to do this catch up anyway. So, so much great stuff in terms of thinking about the creative life and the other side of it.
Yes.
There's so many commonalities. Yeah.
And I'll have to come back next time so we can talk about tools.
Yes.
Yes,
we're going to, and then we just, so next time we'll do the small business part.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Amra's Armchair Anecdotes. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and follow for more insights, stories and inspiration. From my armchair to yours, remember, every story begins with a single word.